Hydro field cuts through my neighborhood.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fearlessly Authentic. I'm here, Lucky, with whoa,
What up?
with Steve, and we have the amazing lady, Vegan Succubus.
Hello, everybody. Good evening and happy Thursday, beautiful humans. Oh man, I'm so nervous. This is my third or fourth stream with you, and I'm like still nervous like it's my first time. I had to smoke a little bit before this, so hopefully I don't get too wild.
I think it'll be all right.
I think we'll be fine. Oh my god!
It's not like I, did edibles or mushrooms yet.
I know.
The night is still young. Come on.
Yeah. We should do that. We should do that on a stream. Just like talk about whatever, and just be on the mushrooms. And
I don't know how you guys do it when you won the Matrix bar and you did that together and you were on the stream. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have that much courage. I'm like hella paranoid. I would never do that. And so I was actually just laughing at you guys laughing at whatever you were laughing about because it was just so much fun. But it did make me wish for a camping trip for all the Burritonians to meet up somewhere and do a long, maybe week camping thing where people can come in or leave when they can or whatever.
Yeah.
Just sit around the fire and play music and smoke a lot, do some shrooms.
That would be amazing.
Definitely near a body of water too. Need to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There needs to be shady places. Also, that could be like Burritonian. What do you call that? There's a thing. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. I'll come back to it. I can't.
What,
remember.
a little village?
Like a intentional training program. Burritonian intentional training program. Re-education.
A training program?
Yes, Burritonian re-education program.
Like opening up your mind.
Yeah, expanding your mind, broadening your horizons. I like it.
All right, it sounds really culty.
A Burritonian paradise or something.
Yeah, how to use your critical thinking skills and clear out that pineal gland and all those things.
We could get the pineal gland pickaxe out for everybody and just.
I'm in desperate need of that. I would love that.
The toad,
Yeah.
We do need to go to New Mexico because we can see the toad in New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
There's plenty of other things down there to see too.
Yeah.
I think Lady Alex is down there, right?
Yeah.
Or is she Arizona?
She's New Mexico.
New Mexico?
New Mexico.
Yeah, she even said, "Come to New Mexico."
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I can't read the comments. That makes me so overwhelmed. It's difficult for me to do that. Oh God,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's and running a stream is a lot too. You know what I mean? Like when I'm sitting here and I have, I have so many things that I'm paying attention to. That's why I'm always behind in the chat. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying.
Definitely a two device or possibly three device undertaking to be able to
manage all of it. Yeah,
manage everybody, be able to see the chats and things and stuff. Monitor. How we doing? Rumble's working. Odyssey's working. Everything
looks like it's working.
I should probably tweet it out too.
Yeah, everybody tweet it out. Just even if you don't even have a Twitter, just tweet it.
I was thinking you look super cute this evening, Lucky, and I love your earrings.
Thank you.
Yes, those are my favorite ones. Well, that and the hematite heart earrings. Those I love those so much.
Those ones are awesome too.
Did I say it
No,
right? Hematite?
Hematite.
Hematite?
Hematite. Yeah. Hematite.
And
I say
these-
hematite, but I don't say everything. I don't pronounce everything the right way. So that's I question things sometimes.
Yeah, I do too. I'll look it up, like spell it out, and I'm like, that looks fucking weird as shit. There's
Yeah.
no way it's spelled like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, it actually is.
Yeah, I know. The same thing happens.
Okay, sorry. I'm not being rude, I promise, but I was nervous and totally forgot to
You're
tweet it out.
fine.
So I'm
You're
tweeting,
fine.
oh God, chat, don't grill me. Oh, Jesus.
They're not. They're so kind to you.
I know. I love you guys.
And if you guys want to check out some of the stuff that I make, you can check out luckyburritoart.com. It's really easy.
It is really easy. I've ordered through it and it was like within a week received by the person that I sent it to. So
yeah, across
it's
the
easy
country.
Yep. Easy to
Yeah.
order, easy shipping, quick, and I got a tracking code, all of it. It was easy.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do it with the tracking. Like before we were just mailing things, but then we started doing it where it's secured and it has a tracking number and everything.
Mhm.
And you know,
We cut out the trip to the post office too, which is like
yeah, it's
the
really
best.
cool because we can have we have the mail carrier pick up the packages, like so we
Mhm.
can print the labels at home and we can actually like print we can send them out right, like they'll pick them up right from our front door, the
Oh, wow.
package. So yeah, we don't have to go anywhere and they're already coming to the neighborhood anyway.
Mhm.
So it's like it's more environmentally friendly that way too, and we don't have to go out and do anything.
Mhm.
We just pay for it, print it, and like the next day we can schedule it to be picked up.
That's super
The next day that they
convenient.
come and get mail. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you always go through USPS?
Usually well, for that service, yeah.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
can do other ones, but like we'd actually have to go to the locations and stuff to use them.
Mhm. Mhm.
But yeah,
That's really neat though.
yeah, I like it.
But yeah, so I love the earrings that I had someone volunteer. I'm hosting a picnic next month, a community picnic here in Vancouver, and I had a volunteer do some interpretation or translation for a flyer, and it's actually a friend of mine, and I just wanted to thank them for helping out, volunteering their time and doing that because it's a lot, to ask somebody. It was a lot of text that I sent to. And I love being able to support you through your store and also be gifting my other friend something really cute that she can have forever.
That's awesome. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
unique because
Mhm.
no, I mean, unless someone makes exactly what I designed, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It's an original design, so it's something that you're not going to find in any store. No one else
Mhm.
no one else, you're not going to it's not likely that you'll run into somebody that is like, "Oh, I have the same earrings as you."
Mhm.
'Cause
Yeah,
they're
that's what I love
completely
about it.
unique.
I was thinking though of commissioning you to make a second pair just because I love them so much. I wanted them for me, but I was like, no, I'm going to send them to that volunteer because she just did so much work to help that documentation, like for the Eventbrite and for the flyer. So,
That's
but
awesome.
maybe.
So tell us like what do you have what do you have coming up? Like what are you doing?
So next month on Saturday, July 22nd is the third National Day of Action for March Medicare for All. And not only will there be an action in East Palestine, Ohio that day, there will also be one in Atlanta, Georgia, outside Norfolk Southern headquarters. And we're
Nice.
hoping to try and overlap that action with also some Stop Cop City support as well. Bring them out. I found out today that there's like a new petition that is for Atlanta residents. So we're going to try and see if we can get a bunch of signatures for that to help stop Cop City. Sorry. And then we have a virtual action that's happening for Indiana residents, but also anybody who can't physically come out to an action, whether that be because of cost or abilities or just because it's hot as hell in July and you don't want to go outside. And then I am organizing and hosting a single payer picnic where we're going to talk about healthcare as a human right. I've extended invitations to like 70 different organizations and heard back from like 3 to see if they want to help participate or, promote or whatever. But we'll also be doing mutual aid in Vancouver to raise school supplies for low-income students for the 2023-2024 school year. There's actually an organization that I've worked with in the past from volunteer work that I've done in Clark County, the Giving Closet. And every August, they do something called the Back to School Bash. And it's for low-income students. We have 3 poor parts of town here in Vancouver, specifically, not the greater Clark County. There are other parts of town that are poor as well. But yeah, so it'll be for kids to get backpacks, and then we have like their school lists of the items that they need, so they'll be able to like, pick everything out and put it in their new backpack that they got. And typically there's like some food vendors there and like snow cones and things like that, fun games and prizes for the kids and stuff. So it's kind of a twofer. The picnic next month will be like to raise the materials to do the event in August. So it's kind of back to back with March Medicare for All, working with the Giving Closet here in Vancouver. So I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah.
So when Skyla was little, we did events that were similar to what you're talking about, like the back to school one. And we volunteered, and Skyla ended up in the newspaper.
That's awesome.
She was like 6, and like it was like basically you would go and you would get a backpack and it would have a tag on there, so you knew it. Like it would be more like if it was a boy or a girl's and what grade or whatever, and you would have like so you'd have to go through like the whole they had all the supplies out, and you would go and you would pick up, okay, I need so many pencils and so many of this or so many of that, and you would pick them up, and like we were like stuffing the backpacks with the supplies, and then the kids, like the different organizations, would come and pick them up, and we would get them out. So yeah, I think that's awesome, and it really does help parents, because it's an added expense. Like when your kid is going back to school, whether like we have public schools, but like when Skyla was in she was still in grade school, they switched to school uniforms. So like suddenly we had to have, even at public schools, there was a certain uniform that they had to wear. It was like they could wear khaki pants, and then it was like different shades of a blue, like, a collared or whatever shirt. They couldn't just wear a t-shirt, but like it was, there was a specific, it was supposed to be to like prevent bullying and to make it where all the kids are the same. But it ended up being like a really big added expense every year to like have to go and make sure that you bought the right thing and that the right uniform, and you had to make sure they were, like it's not like it's their regular wardrobe where they just, that you can wear whatever. And I get like the whole meaning behind why they did it, but also at the same time it was a burden for parents, especially in the very beginning. And so we did a lot of I ended up like always, like whenever she outgrew them, like trying to like do hand-me-downs or help, the stuff that was in good condition to give it to other people. But yeah, the backpack stuffing was a big thing that we did, and then we and we used that for like we took advantage of that program, and we also like not took advantage of it, it's like took advantage. We used the program. Yeah, we utilized it. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. And then, but we also went back and did volunteer work with them also. And so that was just, it was such a good thing to do. Like I always tell people, like my list of volunteer work that I've done in my community is much larger than the other kind of volunteer stuff. And it's just, if you want a better community, then that's the first thing you can do is organize and be in your community.
Totally. Absolutely. I mean, my work history is the same. I've done more with organizing and like, direct action, not just with March Medicare for All, but like physically in the community, from even just as a kid and through my adulthood. I have more experience actually doing that than all the jobs that I've worked,
Awesome.
But what the thing is, that I like to do when I go to a job is take away what tools that I learn from these companies and stuff and how I can put that into organizing for the community. So I'm really just using jobs to gain skills to help the community better. So I don't know, that's kind of weird, but yeah.
It's like somehow like progressively subversive, and I endorse that 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I worked at Target for, like long time ago now, but when I went and worked there, like they had like these corporations need to do these kind of activities too. Like they need to do them, like they write them off with their taxes.
Totally.
They absolutely will give, if you're doing organizing and stuff like that, these companies will give you supplies. They will give you, when I worked there, I got stuff going and started doing more community work because they did, they technically supported it at, as a corporation. And so I took, I started doing things that were like, volunteer work in my community, and then also representing the job, doing it through Target too, because it was a lot easier to get some of the support that I needed to, to be able to do it. Like, like they had the banners, they had all the free stuff to give away. It was
the plates, the cups for the picnics and the things and the, all of it. That's something that I'm, doing next week. I'll be going to like local stores here, Freddy's, Target, Walmart, Kohl's, and for some reason I can't think of the fifth business, but I'm going to go to these places and basically challenge them to match what March Medicare for All is going to be able to donate for back to school supplies, so we can make this the biggest back to school bash because of the pandemic. The last like 2 years or 3, because they didn't do it in 2020, so 21 and 22 they were just really poorly supported, so they have not had as much like donations and materials, things like that for the event. So I wanted to try and make this one, or help make it better than it has been in the past few years, at least, to get kids excited about going back to school. Like that's something that was kind of taken away from them, is being in the class and with other students and learning. And I do want to say that I actually as a student back in the day, I am a proponent of school uniforms, because I just thought then I don't have to worry about what I'm going to wear. And I think that schools do it wrong by not providing them. Like when you go get a job at in the dental or medical field, typically the employer will provide your scrubs. And so it's like, well, then why don't they just do scrubs or something like that for students, And so and just provide them. I also think that all school lunches should be paid for as well. So I'm a little out there when it comes to, radical and revolutionary ideas, because I just think it's ridiculous that a student is told or denied that they can't eat because their parent didn't put money on their, or guardian didn't put money on their account, is absolutely ludicrous to me. So I think that all breakfast and lunch during school should be provided. And then during the summers, that the school district should also be offering lunches every day, like sack lunches.
They do some of that. Like here, at least I know they did have a program where they were going around and like even during the summertime, you could go and get like a prepared like lunch. And I mean, it was pretty balanced what they gave the kids. Like they gave them options between like 3 different choices. And like it came with like a piece of fruit. It came with, like it was like a drink, and there was different snacks in there. And there's some kind of like main, you know what I mean? Like whether it was peanut butter and jelly or a ham and cheese or something, you know what I mean? Some kind of like more like, the main part of the meal. And then, but I mean, they got fruit with it. They got other things. They got like yogurt sometimes, like, so it was like I was impressed. Like and they just had to walk over to the truck and get it. Like that's it. Like it was there. They were there, and it was like the school lunch ladies basically, and they would go to different areas at different times to make sure that the kids were eating. And I thought that was fantastic. Even like in the offs, you know what I mean? Because it's expensive. It's expensive.
Totally.
kids are expensive to feed. And then, you know, if you had kids that weren't yours, like a lot of parents, like, you know, help out other people and babysit and stuff like that, then they could still go there. It didn't matter. Like if they were under the age of 18, they could go and get a free meal, and that was it. Like no questions asked. So I think that's really, really important. We should have that. That should be, you know what I mean? No person should be going hungry in the country
ever.
We have the resources.
Don't care who you are, you should never go hungry. Like, I really don't care. If you are a hungry person, you know, child, man, woman, senior, homeless person, like, you deserve to eat. That is like a human right, is food. Like, we will die without it. So
yeah.
Do you know if those programs are still ongoing, or did they kind of taper off because of the pandemic, or did they get better? Or
I'm not sure. I'll have to ask, like, cause Skylar's not in school age anymore. I don't get the information on it, but I'll ask around and find out from my neighbors. I haven't seen like the truck up there, like school just went out. So I'm not sure like if there is like a gap between it, if they're still doing it, but yeah, I'll ask and see if any of them did find out about that, because I mean, there's so many more younger kids now in my neighborhood than there was like when, you know, it feels like it than when Skyla was in school. So
yeah. Here we have like the parks department will do something. And then the Boys and Girl Club, they'll do it like, but it's not every day. It's like sporadic. So it's like, you know, this week they'll offer it, or they'll have it every Wednesday or something like that. But it's not daily. So I just feel like schools being the central place for that, because they have the kitchens already. And then the students know where the schools are, and so do the parents, you know, just being able to get a meal there for the kids at least. But
yeah, this was like Monday through Friday or whatever, and it was like from like 12:15 to like 1:15 or something, like you know, like they went to different parks and different local places. And I'm not sure if they're still doing it though. I mean, now I'm really curious to figure that out, like, because it's weird when you don't have a school age child, you don't always think about all those things and all the different resources that they do use. You know, I was much more involved with doing the anti-bullying coalition that I did a lot of volunteer work with and stuff like that when she was younger, when she was in school. I was doing a lot more of that. But and then of course, yeah, like the whole pandemic thing, it just kind of like it kind of stopped like all the volunteer work in its tracks. Like it's just it kind of like halted everything, and you're just like, oh, okay, yeah. And now it's like, you know, people are getting back to normal and getting back to into the groove of things. But yeah, I'm hoping that these different programs are still going to be around, because they were super important.
Yeah, I do want to give credit to the people who were, you know, still out there helping those in need during, like, especially the height of the pandemic. Because there definitely were people that were out there making meals, dropping them off, getting, you know, socks to people who needed it, you know, warm clothing or cooler clothing during the summers. And it just wasn't like a heavily promoted thing, just like NNU saying that they didn't want to support the first march because of lockdowns and stuff. And it was like that. It was 2021 and everybody was going to be outside. So we're like, what the hell? You know, like it just made no sense, but whatever.
Yeah. A lot of the last 3 years don't make a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, it's the hypocrisy is just, it's astounding. It is astounding how much hypocrisy there was. How many people just, you know,
are blindly obedient and act like sheep.
I'm like trying to think of how to say it.
Well, that's how you say it. That's what it is. That's what they do. They believe the propaganda. They stay stuck in the fear porn bubble and
the echo and your echo chamber.
Just echo whatever the groupthink is, and anybody with a dissenting voice is cast aside and burned immediately.
Yeah, like like when I had that conversation with Buck Angel, I compared it to, the Salem witch trials. Like I feel like if we still did public burnings, then who would have been burned through the last 3 years? Who would be the person? Crazy. Who would be the single person that was standing up and that wasn't saluting with the Nazis? You know what I mean? Like who are those people? Those are my people. Those are my people. The people that stand up for what's right no matter what. Those are the people that are here.
Yeah.
And any of the hate watchers.
Even the hate
you know who you are.
It's all good because we love you. We would love you more than you want to be loved, just for the sake of love.
Yipper said, who makes generic drugs?
The same people who make not generic drugs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they're required to make a generic version so it can be a discounted rate.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the same thing of like, who makes the generic food in the grocery store. The grocery store chain itself doesn't typically, sometimes they do, but it's typically made by the same company that makes like the name brand of something. Like they make it in just different packaging.
Yeah, because there's federal subsidies for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why they do it.
It always comes down to the money.
Just remember, it has the same amount of glyphosate. So if you're trying to keep your Roundup levels up there, you know what I mean? Don't be afraid of the generic version. Has the same poisons.
Don't be afraid. Go after the conventional.
Afraid, but, don't be afraid that you're not getting your daily recommended allowance of fucking death.
What's the daily percentage for that?
I'm not sure. It's probably
I don't know.
Like a significant portion. Like glyphosate has got to be at least right up around 1%. Of most
yeah, at least.
I mean, they said it's in like 40% of adults' urine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, and then a lot of us all have PFOAs in our bloodstream too, because we all grew up on Teflon.
Yeah.
Like that was the cool new thing for people to have in their kitchen. So everybody had at least one Teflon pan.
Yeah.
We got that in our blood.
I remember
like forever. It never goes away.
My mom with the big giant skillet, and it just flaking off and stuff. Like, I'm sure I consumed lots of that stuff.
Totally.
I'm probably, that's got a shelf life of like fucking 100,000 years or something. Like it doesn't go away.
It does not.
Well, maybe it'll make me immortal. I don't know.
Yeah, you won't need to be embalmed. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I know. Like it's like it comes at us. The toxins come at us from every angle, right? It's in our medicine, it's in our air, it's our water, it's in our food, and if we use it in our water, then it's in our food. Because there's
soil, like where the food's growing has the poison soil. Yeah,
it's everywhere.
From our birth, they whack us with it.
Yeah,
and our medicine, the medicine, generic or not, it's the same,
They
totally
really like as soon as we're born.
And it's causing like a lot of issues for people health wise. I mean, it causes our animals, like, like people don't often talk about the health of the animals and the food that we feed our animals. Like we feed ours like something that doesn't contain pesticides and
as possible.
But you have domesticated animals. Think about the mass production, like the cattle farms and the pig farms and all of that. They're injecting them with antibiotics and feeding them junky GMO feed that's, got stabilizers in it and mold things in it. And just, it's disgusting if you really think about it.
And our health. And it all that matters. It all goes into us having proper health care and being, as healthy as we possibly can. Because as we know right now, we don't have health care for everybody in this country. You can't just go to a doctor if you need to go to a doctor in the United States. So that's an important thing to remember, is to be as healthy as you possibly can and be as informed as you possibly can. Even if you can go to a doctor, You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of reasons to always choose like being healthy, and it's not some kind of like nutty thing to want to be healthy for yourself. Like it's I mean, like,
but what it is that they make it unachievable. So all the good healthy food is going to be like astronomically more expensive and nearly unachievable, especially for people who are on SNAP or food stamps.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that the government is allowing us to all be poisoned. And then they're saying, but we can't let you have health care. Can't let you go see a doctor for that.
Yeah.
Can't
And
let you get checked for this.
No,
do you remember
trying to create customers here? Come on.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what scares me about, you know, the whole healthcare thing is that, you know, what is it going to be completely tanked and overwhelmed because like people have lost faith in our healthcare system. They've lost it because for rightfully so. Rightfully so.
We don't really have a healthcare system in this country though. Like period. From the get, we don't have a healthcare system. We just don't. It's all like, I think Medicare now at this point is like 90% privatized. So our government is allowing the private equity firms like BlackRock and Vanguard to come in and invest in healthcare and make it turn a profit, which healthcare should never be profitable, period. Whether it's you using the hospital bed, you going to primary care, you getting a medication, you buying a medical device, it should never make money or revenue from that.
No.
And so we don't have a healthcare system in this country. And our country has declared through the UN and ratified it. I think it was 1976, it's on the website, but 1976, that healthcare is a human right and that they have a duty to provide it to the people.
Yeah.
But, you know, lobbyists and private equity and corporations have more say than the people, which is why it's so necessary that instead of fracturing and breaking into different groups and, you know, different things, that we all actually fight together. Like I'm very open about how, you know, when you're a healthcare activist, you also are fighting for like housing, because how can you be healthy if you don't have a place to lay your head at night that's safe? Right. And also a clean restroom, like for you to be able to go to the bathroom on a regular basis, like that. Those are interconnected. You're a healthcare activist if you fight for food rights, you know, for people to have good, healthy food, to have more food stamps, to be able to get fresh fruits and vegetables from their local store instead of only buying like Doritos and soda, because there's a lot of places that are food deserts. Like they aren't able to grow the actual food for their population, and bringing it in would cost more than just having, you know, I think it's like Cisco or whatever, drop off like Doritos and Mountain Dews and, you know, that kind of stuff. And that's stuff that you can buy with your food stamps too. Like, it's just so crazy that you can buy, you know what? Sorry, this is totally
if they change that, do you think that the stores would adapt to change to offering healthy things? I think they would have to almost.
I mean, I was just going to say, I think they'd be forced to, which is great. People deserve to have, you know, like fresh fruits and vegetables and be able to prepare that. And then there also needs to be a part of the whole system would be things that are already prepared for like people who can't cut things up, like people who have arthritis in their hands or, you know, can't hold a knife and, you know, prepare things like that themselves. So, you know, there's so many things that are interconnected with healthcare. So when I say broadly that healthcare is a human right, I'm really including a lot of things in that, you know, housing, education, food, you know, climate. The clean environment is like actually mandatory for us to be healthy. And so at the very least, if we're not going to have a clean climate, we should have fucking healthcare. Like, we should be able to go see a goddamn doctor when we need to. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like it just feels like it feels hopeless at times. How do you keep going and just stay positive about it? Like when it feels like so overwhelmingly hopeless and like we don't get anywhere. You know what I mean? Like how do you keep going? Like what gives you that like? that drive?
I would just say like the undying rage that I have for the current systems that exist, and the like just absolute possibility of overthrowing the government and burning everything to the ground, and then starting anew and building better for, everybody, not for corporations, not for the predator class, not for the establishment, not for the World Economic Forum, not for any of the technocrats, like for us, like real people who are the ones who produce the labor in this country, who produce the products in this country, like not for the powers that be, because we need to get rid of them. So when I get really mad, I just organize. Like I put my energy into making contacts, outreaching, educating people, like having conversations, trying to reach out to organizations outside of the echo chamber of healthcare, because there's like a bajillion legacy orgs that aren't doing fuck all to get us healthcare. And then there's other ones that are popping up and just going towards, the incrementalist approach of state by state, which is healthcare for some within arbitrary borders and not Medicare for all. And so I
feel like that's one of the biggest things that gets mixed up with all this, is that people fighting for state by state, and like I get that they have, their intentions are good, but their intentions aren't going towards the same thing as what you're fighting for. So like what do you have to say about, about that? Like how it feels like you're kind of like battling. It's like you have someone coming at you sideways and thinking that they're helping, but they're really not. And then you also are going up against like, a larger entity like the government, and trying to bring awareness. But then you have people like bringing in things that misalign, and that are going, it's like spinning you backwards. It feels like there's just constant, like, you have to like clarify, you have to like keep reiterating that state by state is not the same thing. And yet it just keeps getting repeated and the echo chamber continues.
Well, I mean, I think a big part of that is just people are too afraid to like take a position. And so they say, oh, well, I'm for all strategies that get us Medicare for all. But here's the thing. The state by state strategy is actually designed by the neoliberal establishment, thanks to Nancy Pelosi. And she came out in 2017 and was like, hey, this Medicare thing ain't going to work at the federal level. You should try it in the states. Well, that was when Medicare for All was actually at its most popular, like a household name, because of Bernie Sanders. People were really talking about it, became popular regardless of where you landed on the political spectrum, and that scared the shit out of the lobbyists. And so they brought out Nancy Pelosi to tell people, hey, you know what? Let's go ahead and do this through the state, because we know that can't happen. Not only do they have to overcome federal waivers, which would weaken the national Medicare pool, but they would also not be able to afford it in a state, even California, because state budgets don't work the same as the federal government. Our federal government issues the currency that we have and we create in this country, which is the US dollar. People like for some reason think we're actually getting the US dollar from China. That makes no sense whatsoever. We have deals with China. We buy products from them because we hardly make anything in this country anymore. We buy things from China, sell them here, and they don't want our dollar, so they buy bonds in exchange. So people are saying that we owe China money, and it's just not true. It's totally false. But the organizers who continue to conflate the state-based enhanced healthcare as Medicare for all, I mean, I just have tried to ask them, because I used to support it. I actually live in Washington State. I used to support Whole Washington from 2018 to 2021. I was part of one of their first campaigns that they ever did. It was called Be the Key. So we got, like little tiny, cute little keys for donations and things like that. And then you were like helping to be the key and solve this problem of healthcare, right? Well, then in 2021, I actually went to a webinar for, it was called for single payer in Oregon. And I'm actually from Oregon. So I live in Washington State now, but I was born and raised in Oregon. And so most of my family lives there. I have some relatives up in Canada and Alaska too, but pretty much everyone else is in Oregon. So at that meeting, Gerald Friedman, who actually wrote the financial report for whole Washington, advised that there's no way that the state of Oregon could afford a single payer program because they don't have enough capital. So like every year, they would have to continue to increase taxes because people will have babies, people who get older will need more care, you know, that kind of thing. So it would just become a tax on the people. And that's not how it works at the federal level. Like our taxes that we pay, you know, we file every April and we pay and blah, blah, blah. They actually don't fund policy at all. Nobody even knows this. Like it's a, God damn, the sun is like right in my face. Nobody knows this because we've been indoctrinated to believe that the reason we pay taxes is to cover like the military and the food stamps and the da 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 da. That's not how it works. Our government says, this is how much this policy is going to cost. We send a note to the Treasury. This is how much you need to change the decimal point. And now that's paid for. Like, that's how it works. That's how we're able to get so many increases with the defense budget. They just, had an accounting error of what? Was it like $6 billion or $9 billion for Ukraine?
Like 6, yeah. In Ukraine's favor, of course. Of course, it's in their favor.
Oopsie poopsie. So ridiculous. Could you imagine if you had a missing or an error amount of $6 billion for your household budget? Like, that's so crazy. But it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. It exists. Like, it's just there. We could literally take the deficit and just boop, deleted. Just be like, you know what? We actually don't have a deficit anymore.
Yeah.
It's just gone.
Yeah, it's like owing yourself.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
It's like, oh, well, I have $40 in my wallet and like, I'm going to borrow this $40 and I'm going to spend it and I'm going to pay myself back.
Mm-hmm.
I have a really
That's
funny
exactly
thing
what
that
it is.
happened. I was when I got out of prison and went to a halfway house. I was in the halfway house, and 1 week before I was about to get out, a kid stole my my jar of change that I had off my dresser. This guy that had just come out of jail, and he took my jar of change and my cassette tapes. And me and him, I punched him in the grill, and he fell down and swallowed his gold tooth and cussed me out. And he got packed back into jail, and I had to pay myself back the $35 in silver that was in the fucking cup, because they're like, you're not supposed to have this money. It's supposed to, all your money is supposed to be in the you know, your account, and you're not supposed to have this available. So I was like penalized. I had to stay an extra 3 days until my payday after the week. So it was like I was there for 10 days to pay myself back. So that just totally triggered that memory. So thank you for that.
That's insane, and I'm sorry.
It's just a thing,
And-
you know. That's just a lesson to everyone, you know. Just you know, if you're not supposed to have the money because of some stupid fucking rule, follow the stupid rule, or you're gonna have to pay yourself back, and it's gonna suck.
Jesus, that's so tough.
But you're gonna have $35 more than you did when you started. So it's kind of like tipping yourself in the long run. So I don't know how I feel about it, really.
It's ridiculous.
It is.
It is.
But the thing is that a state budget works exactly like a household budget. So if you don't have the money, you ain't going to pay for it. It's going to get cut. That's not how the federal budget works at all.
And like, so say Washington State got health care, right? Like Washington State's like, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to pass health care. Say it was Massachusetts. Like everyone thought like a while back that Massachusetts had single payer or whatever. So say it's any state, whatever state that you live in, just say it's your state, right? And your state's like, yeah, we're giving our citizens all health care and we're going to cover it. And this is how we're going to cut. And then we're like, yeah, we're just going to do that. Right. So what's going to happen to that state?
People are going to flock to it.
Yeah, like
First.
every sick person, every person with cancer, every person with something terminally ill, every person
parent
with,
with a child who's sick, every person who can afford to get there as soon as possible will be there. I mean, there's been people who've said that they would live out in their car just so they can actually access the healthcare. They would move from the state that they're in and live in their vehicle just to access healthcare. Like, that's how bad it is in this country. And so if you think about that, it doesn't matter what state it is. None of them can afford it. And it's just a ridiculous daydreaming ponies and rainbows.
They would just get completely swamped and overwhelmed, and that entire system would collapse.
Well, and not only that,
even worse, like they wouldn't be, they can barely handle it now. Look at what happened the last 3 years with the people that did actually have some sort of either healthcare or went to a hospital. Look at how that was handled. No matter what you think about it, look at how it was handled. What would happen if one state got healthcare? All the people that were sick would flood that state. Even if they had lived there for 6 months or whatever it was.
The corporations in that state that would be higher taxed, they would leave because they can afford to do that. They would just run to a state that has tax havens, and then they would no longer have that capital in the state. So they would have an increase of people coming in, a decrease of money going out. So it will not be sustainable. Vermont actually passed healthcare. I know a lot of people don't realize that, but Vermont did pass it, and it did not go through because they could not fiscally afford to do it. Right. So the state of California is the 6th largest economy. They would also not be able to do this because could you imagine how many people, not only on the West Coast, but just surrounding states would just travel in droves to California, and Silicon Valley would move out of there so fast. It would become Silicon Texas or some shit.
People are already like leaving, like major department stores are like leaving California already because they're telling people like you can vandalize and steal from the stores. Like if it's under $1,000, we're not prosecuting. Like, so people have no incentive not to do it, and I don't know what is going on. It just feels like they know that we're at the end of things and they're just waiting for things to break off so they can make their moves.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they're just lobbing a whole bunch of bullshit out there just to see what like sticks and what doesn't, and just what's going to break it down faster. Like that's what it feels like.
I think that's part of it. I think that they want us to rebel because they have a plan for it. They're like, we're gonna take advantage of as much as we possibly can up until that time, and then they have a plan.
Totally. And they can afford it. They have an escape route and they can afford it. We're all going to be left behind. The people who just like, I have some family friends that are like supportive of billionaires and love Elon Musk for no reason whatsoever, except for that he's rich, and it's so gross. And so like, it just makes me laugh because, when things happen, I'll message them and be like, hey, you think Elon's going to take you and your family and help you guys out? Like that's not, I just don't understand why people think that that's going to happen. If you're not already part of the wealthy, then you're not already part of the plan. Like people need to realialize that. And
you would know if you're part of that plan, you would know that you're part of the plan.
Totally.
Like the preppers, the people that have been prepping for years and that have land and that have skills, they're going to do a lot better off than some of the other people. It's how it works. It's how it works. Like how you see it in the movies is kind of like how it works. It's very predictive programming. They're showing you future scenarios. Okay,
totally.
They have thought them out.
Yes.
They're like, all right, well, let's do a movie about this scenario, and you know what I mean. We'll sell it to the public, and then we also can say, yeah, like this is what might happen. So, like, what are we gonna do if this is the case? You know what I mean? It's like it's all predictive. It's all predictive.
And they're desensitizing people to it though. So it's like the same with all the war movies and, all that kind of stuff. They're desensitizing you and also, indoctrinating you to think, oh, we need to have all these weapons. We need to have this enormous military with 800 known bases around the country, or around the globe, excuse me. It's like
so
they're doing the same
crazy.
thing with apocalyptic shows and movies, is like just preparing you for it.
Can you imagine if it was China that had that many bases around the world?
I can't. I honestly can't, because I don't think that China would waste money like that. They actually focus on healthcare for their people. They like are trying to eradicate homelessness so everybody has a place to sleep at night. I mean, I'm not saying that China's the greatest country in the world.
Every way,
in any sense, but they actually do things for their citizens. Like their light rails are eons beyond our technology here in this country. Our railways are atrocious compared to China's. And so, their infrastructure, like they put up at the beginning of COVID, I think it was like 2 weeks or something, they put a brand new hospital up, for all the people that were going to be needing hospital care and things like that. Where did that happen? You know what I saw? I saw like tents. Yeah, I saw tents in parking lots around where I live. Like it's ridiculous to think that this country is.
We brought in big military ships that were never used.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like the big, I mean, to me, they look like big Coast Guard cutters because, that's what I grew up like. I've been on those huge ships. You know what I mean? The big military ships. My stepdad was a captain, so like. I've been on them, and that's like it reminded me exactly of those, like that, like, oh yeah, as a sick person you want to go and like be on one of those huge military ships. No, I don't think so. They sound, they creak, they make noise. It's a really like cold environment. Like it's not where you want to go if you're sick. Like, I mean, and I saw the captain's quarters, you know what I mean? Like, that was the nicest out of all of them, okay? And it was really small and just really like...
Yeah, still very, moderate and, not like outlandish or anything, but I get such bad motion sickness. Like, if I was sick and put on a boat, like, I can't imagine anything going better for me. Like, honestly, the whole time.
Even as big as they are, they still move around a lot. Like, I've been on them. We did sailing trips, or not sailing trips, but they had like a day cruise thing, like with one of the families one time. And like, I got to go on them in Hawaii and stuff. And like, it's not nice. It's not easy. It's very, I mean, I don't know how those specific ones that they brought out and said that were for health care. I mean, like, it was just weird. It was such the whole thing was just so strange. It's like, how come we can provide our military, and like as a military family growing up, I had healthcare. I had that. I had, you know what I mean? Like I was able to just, if I needed to go to the doctor, I could go to the doctor. I could, like obviously it had to be within like, it was within like the certain network or whatever. And I, had to go to the base or whatever, but like, I had that up until I was 21, and I feel like we could improve on that and do better by everybody.
Totally. And that's the thing, like now, like TRICARE is so different than I don't know if you had TRICARE specifically, but I mean, when I was doing dental front office and doing pre-authorizations, the people who had TRICARE got denied just as much as people who had Delta or Blue Cross or Cigna or whatever their policy was. You reach your maximums, you're only allowed to do certain things, certain number of cleanings a year. Like, and even if people are diagnosed, where they need to have like deeper cleanings for like periodontal disease or whatever, they would be like, oh, well, we could do 2 quadrants this year, which means like an upper and a lower, left or right. And then you have to wait until next year to do the others. Like, well, so I'm going to have half of a clean mouth, and then the other half is just still going to be, diseased and not cared for, and then that's going to spread to the clean side that just got cleaned. Okay, cool. It's absolutely asinine. So, I mean, healthcare as a human right is not just for people who don't have healthcare right now. It's for people who have shitty employer provided insurance, who have TRICARE that aren't getting everything taken care of, for retirees to expand it so that their pills, they don't have to ration them. Medical devices need to be included. That's, glasses are a medical device for people to see. Canes, walkers, wheelchairs, like compression socks, like all of these things. If you are prescribed that you need to have this, it's should be covered under healthcare. Like
animals, my service dog, you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't, you know, like thankfully I didn't have something that I needed to have, like, you know, a specialized trained service animals, because they cost a lot of money. They cost a lot. Like if it's for a seizure, like if you have epilepsy, or, you know what I mean? Or you know, your blood sugar, diabetes and stuff. If you have a specially trained service dog in that way, it's astronomical how much they cost.
It is.
It's so much money. Like,
and then like care for them afterwards too. And that's something too, is like, I know this is kind of like off topic, but like surgeries, when people are post-op and they don't have someone to take them home, someone to care for them once they get home, to monitor the area that they had a procedure done, you know, swelling, bleeding, whatever, infection, you know, like I want that to be part of healthcare as well. Like that would increase jobs. Like healthcare, the way that I see it, would be also like a jobs guarantee, because we're going to need to increase infrastructure, which means building hospitals and clinics, local clinics, reopening ones that have been closed because of private equity, and also changing, like ideally, like big box stores that are empty, like revamping them to be a local clinic, so people have somewhere that's closer to home, so they don't have to travel so far to go see a doctor, you know. But then that's also including education, like training doctors, training nurses, training dentists, you know, hygienists, all of it, optometrists, what have you. So it's like so expansive. It really needs to be like
it would be just like an all-inclusive thing.
like a healthy bill of rights or something like that. And it would need to include housing and healthcare and, you know, education and the climate and all of the things in one, because even if we got healthcare, it just wouldn't be enough at this point. We need so much more for this country.
Yeah. And I mean, if you look at it, like, you know, like there's no state that doesn't have people who are without a home. It doesn't matter. I mean, there is higher concentrations in certain areas, and the nicer the weather, usually the more, you know, the more likely that people are going to migrate to there. But there are people that are houseless in every part of this country. Every part.
It's like, I'm so ashamed, because the American exceptionalism is really just like foreign policy. Like, oh, we're the strongest, so we're the best. We're the richest, so we're the best. But we never have American exceptionalism for domestic policy. Like, I feel that it would be more patriotic to take care of each other than to have a whole bunch of military bases across the globe. Like, I don't understand how people don't see that. That's how I see it being more patriotic for me to go help in my own community than for me to like thank a veteran or something for their service. Like, you know, a lot of people just enter the service at this point so they can have housing, the GI Bill, and some health care. Like,
and hope that they don't have to go and you know,
and be active duty.
Yeah.
It's really a sad country that we live in, and people just, you know, like I said, American exceptionalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm sorry, it's like hot as fuck in this room. This is like where the sun sets, and I'm just like blazing hot right now. There's like no air coming this direction. So for everyone, I'm a fat kid. I'm sweating. It's hot as fuck in here. So apologies.
Oh my God. Do you not need to apologize?
Somebody plug in the fan for vegan.
I know. I used to be like, listen, I don't sweat, I sparkle, or whatever. I say that all the time, because
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah, you know, I was glistening, you know, like
that's what Mr. Vegan calls it. Oh, I'm glistening. I don't like glistening.
That is so funny.
Glistening women are hot, so it's
that's true.
Yep. Okay.
Super true.
So I mean, I think that like it's just, oh man, I just totally brain farted.
Yeah, because I said hot women sizzling, glistening.
I got distracted.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Okay, so I haven't been really paying attention to comments. Is anyone asking a question about healthcare?
Let's.
Do you guys have any questions?
May or may not have the answer. No guarantees. But I am a one-trick pony, like I told Miguel. I don't know much about anything else. Let's be honest here. I've been so focused on healthcare for so long. Like, I know like climate and all of those things are necessary, but
she just does healthcare and glistens. Okay, people.
Yeah. She's
and make vegan food. That's about it.
Well, like a slave in Devo's chicken coop. Yes.
Teresa says, I'm just happy to see vegans. Nice to see faces to names. Yeah.
Oh, hi, Teresa. You're awesome. I'm so grateful for you.
I know. I like seeing the people. I like it when the people from like, that come on that we got to see Yepak's face the other day.
I know.
And that was really good to interact and see, because it's like there's so much that's missed when we're talking through computers all the time. Totally. And this gives us like this personal connection and, so it's really, really great. I really appreciate it. I really, really do.
Yeah, even though I love you like so much, I'm still like so nervous. I hate being on screen. I'm a behind camera person. I love taking pictures, but like I hate being in them.
Snow Leopard has a question. He said, healthcare, if I take 40 hits of acid, would I die happy? Now, I feel qualified to answer, but if you have another answer for him, please.
Go for it, Stever. I'll defer to you.
All right.
Allegedly, this is not medical advice.
This is not medical advice. At all. But it is
I'm just gonna give that disclosure.
Yeah, I was just gonna say a YouTube disclaimer. Now there's gonna be a pop-up.
It's kind of a thing, it's so this happened to me. So you go if you take 40 hits of acid on purpose, make sure before you take it that you have at least 1 or 2 Xanax or Valium, some sort of benzodiazepine, in case things get really hairy.
They're an off ramp.
They will provide off ramps like immediately.
They are off ramps.
They work really well for that.
Anytime.
So just when things are getting crazy, and really no matter what and how much LSD you're doing, this is specific to LSD. Because
am I hearing a backup?
I'm not backing up, but somebody is out there.
It's not me.
But yeah, no, it definitely I probably could say with a moderate amount of certainty that you wouldn't die happy, but you would be really high until well into the next day. And potentially longer.
I was going to say 40.
You need the benzos to like help you go to sleep on the end of it, like after you peak from it, which is going to be about anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. Really intense visuals and what have you. It can get really intense that much, and it's pretty much a threshold thing. Like once you're used to taking like 20 hits acid, 40 hits acid ain't none. It's just another level up in the video game, and it goes on and on and on and on, like way higher than you would imagine. And I know this to be true because I have a bunch of really high friends in places.
I've only I microdosed once and then I loved it. It turns out I love psychedelics. I really thought I was going to be scared of doing them, but it taps into such an incredible part of my brain that I love so much. So, and then after we microdosed, we tried like a full hit. And oh man, it was just amazing. Like we had prepared like different food items, like if we got hungry that we didn't have to cut anything, and one of them was like watermelon. We did it during the summer. So it was like this really delicious, fresh watermelon, just so sweet and juicy. And like, you could feel every pore and like structure. It was just amazing. Like I highly recommend psychedelics to people. Like always have, if you're new to it, I recommend a sober sitter. So someone can be there to like touch you back and ground you to reality. Definitely. I had my mom and she got really stoned and passed out. So she wasn't a great sober sitter, but then the second time we did it, we were like, well, we probably don't need her around. We can do this without her.
Generally, when we would have a sober or a semi-sober person, it would just be like someone who's not drinking, someone who maybe ate a little, like a half a hit of acid or something. So they're going to be awake with you during the whole time, kind of thing, if they want to be. and
Yeah.
that's super helpful. But yeah, like 40 hits is a lot. I don't recommend anybody take 40 hits right off the
Sounds
rip.
expensive too.
And it could, by today's market, that that costs you an arm and a leg, I guess.
Depends on your source and how much.
And know your source.
Always know
test
your
LSD,
sources.
Totally.
Everything.
Don't buy from someone that you don't know. It needs to be a trusted source.
This is not medical advice. This is just common sense, Make sure.
Totally. Like, we grew up in the days where you bought weed on the streets. So you had to realize that, you don't want to get ripped off, first of all. You want to be able to assess that bag before you buy it. But it goes for medicinal advice. That's right, Salty. You want to just be smart about it. Don't just buy from randos for anything.
And I would refer everyone to Salty's Digital Dive, because he is the doctor of all things, and you should just refer to him. He'll give you directions to the freeway.
Doctor of all things.
Oh no, Bex, I didn't bring it up yet. You should.
What did we do?
Bex wanted to. I had to pull it. I had to pull it up on my Twitter if I want to read it properly.
Shoo, it's hot as fuck back here. Jesus Christ.
The girl is burning up. Let's go.
I am. It's like the hottest day this week, too. It was like rainy and kind of just gray, typical Northwest weather the last like 10 days. And then today is like, hey, you know what? Let's be 90 degrees. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Where is it? Okay. Is it here?
I hate having to use AC, too.
Yeah.
I'd move to the coast, but like the rising sea lines. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Bex brought up to me. He said, I wanted to mention something quick that is often overlooked when it comes to the fight for universal health care. I'm referring to how those who are disabled, like myself, are severely limited by the means-tested gainful activity guidelines for Social Security and other services. Mm-hmm. That they're very arbitrary. And like how, so let me see. Like you can't work too much because you'll be over the limit. Right. But if you don't work enough, then you might not be able to afford, like, the medications and all the rent things. So it seems like it really is almost like a punishment for people. Like how does the healthcare that you're fighting for, how does that deal with that issue of that?
So if you go to our website, we actually have like a what we're fighting for. I work on the website too. So I'm very diligent on that, and I'm totally open to adding more because it's not a finalized list. Like this needs to continue to grow so we can actually demand what everybody needs. But specifically already on there, let me move out of the sun. Already on there is expanding livable wages for those who are disabled. No more means testing. So if you make $11 more that month, then your food stamps get cut, or your healthcare does. That can never happen again. But not only for disabled people, but also for their caregivers. And one of the reasons, if you go to About Us, there's a little carrot that drops down. And then go to what we're fighting for. And thanks for doing that. But also for caregivers. So, and a lot of the reason why I have included caregivers getting an increase in their assistance, because they're caring for like a family member or a child, which I guess is a family member, or somebody, but they're not making livable wages either. If you scroll down a little bit more, here, increased SSDI benefits for a higher standard of living and increased caregiver benefits to ensure those caring for others are cared for as well. And so I'm totally open to increasing the way that reads, or if it isn't expansive enough, please feel free to reach out to me because I would love to expand on it. But the reason that I'm including the caregiver benefits is because back in 2021, when I first joined March Medicare for All, I actually was in a meeting with Renee Johnston, Joe Charest, and Joy Bunton. At the time, Renee was organizing a car caravan in New York City for July 24th, 2021. And Joy Bunton was one of the lead organizers for the Chicago action, July 24th, 2021. And Joe was considering either starting an action or possibly traveling to another one that would be near her. And so I spent, I think it was like 3 hours with those ladies, and they all shared their experience with me. How they were treated so poorly by the People's Party and just completely trashed by that leadership and, tossed aside. But Joe also, and I can just, vividly remember listening to her tell me about what it's like being a mother who cares for her child. And how much she struggles every single day, not every month, every single day, and how hard she has to fight, all the hoops she has to jump through, everything that she has to prove that she's actually caring for her child, that she's not, doing too many hours here or whatever. And I was just like, that's so obscene. I'd never, at that point in time, known somebody who was a direct caregiver for a family member. It was always I'm a caregiver for a home or what have you. So it was this corporate job kind of thing. And so I didn't know that they were left behind so much, just treated so poorly. They're taking care of somebody who is in need of help, and you're just not going to pay them enough to cover their rent, or if they make too much, then you're going to take away their food stamps so they have no money for food that month. It's just absolutely asinine the way this country operates. So Joe Charest is actually the reason why I added the SSDI and the caregiver benefits to the website. But like I said, if that's not comprehensive enough and we need another bullet point or need to expand on that, please let me know, because I'm totally open to it. I want to make this the bill for the people. That's why education's included in here. It is specific to medical providers, but honestly, I think that all student debt needs to be canceled, and all trade and public schools, community colleges need to be made completely, free at the point of service. So anybody who wants to seek higher education can, without any barriers to them. So
now
there's a lot in here.
Are there other countries that do all that? I mean, and
we shouldn't be comparing ourselves to other countries. That's the thing, is that we need to actually be setting the standard that other countries would like to achieve. That's where I want to see the American exceptionalism.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get at earlier. I want to feel patriotic about this country for the right reasons.
Right.
I want to feel happy and patriotic and be yeah, we live in the best place. And you know what I mean? We are that shining light on the hill, and we set the best example for everybody, Mm-hmm. And I would love that, but I don't think that we're doing that right now by force and acting the way that we are.
No, we're definitely not doing that right now. I'm honestly ashamed at not only how we treat people domestically, but also foreign, across the globe. We value no human life. The imperialist government that we're under, they do not care about anyone at home or abroad. And we need to change that. And we're not going to do it with the people that we have in power right now. So that's why, I have my idea of just completely overthrowing the government and starting from scratch, tearing down all of these broken systems and making it better. And which is why it needs to be more of a broad movement. Other people need to be involved, not just healthcare activists. It needs to be, civil liberties people, personal liberties people who want to make sure that we're protected from the technocracy so they don't have access to our DNA because we're going to the doctor and we had blood tests done. We need to actually have all of these things and work together to achieve it. But right now, everybody's just fighting everybody. and hating somebody for whatever reason that they choose that day or that week. And nobody's working together to achieve anything for each other. So it's like, it's really fucked up.
It's really frustrating. It really is.
Yeah.
I know. I get it. I get what you're saying completely. Yeah.
Did Yepex have any follow-ups to that? I don't know.
Let me look.
For some reason, it's like glitch loading all of the comments, so I can't actually read them. It just shows me a name on my side.
Oh, that's weird. He said, if I make too much money, I could lose my medical assistance and unable to afford my script/meds.
Yeah, no, that would never, if we're able to, get, I honestly just want to do a full-on general strike with mass mutual aid and set up some kind of mass mutual aid for at least 3 months where we can have everybody fighting and not creating any labor. So like actually bring commerce to their knees. And then we would have a non-negotiable list of demands. And if they don't meet it, then we make it ourselves. So I'm very radical in my views. And so, I'm speaking for myself in this moment, but I know that there are people who share that same sentiment.
Yeah. I mean, we need to get the farmers on our side.
Yeah.
We need to get the people from who do the farmers rely on? We need them too. And who else do we rely on? We need them too. We need to get the people together without the corporations of the people in the corporate, running this. No, we don't need them right now. Like what we need to do is get our neighbors and get our get the workers and the people that actually know how to do all this stuff. I mean, we need to just say, yeah, no more of that. Like we're done. We're done. Yeah. And we're going to do this together and we're going to make sure that things still continue to run smoothly. We'll continue to do our jobs. We'll continue to do whatever we have to do in the transition. I'm not sure. I think that the reason why we don't have this big uproar of people is because we don't have health care, because they keep us stuck in jobs and I have to continue this job and I have to do this and I can't help, I help what I can with mutual aid, but I don't have any, it's the poor people that actually want change.
Yeah, no. And that's actually such a fantastic segue back to the state-based enhanced healthcare fight where they're trying to do the strategy state by state. That's actually hurting workers. It truly is, because like I said earlier, Nancy Pelosi is the one who came out and said that. And she was just awarded this year by the American Healthcare Association because she hooked them all up. She made sure that for the last 6 years that the national movement was deflated and shattered. So we were not fighting together at the national level. And a bunch of these people who fight for state by state, they're just feeding into it. There are so many phenomenal people that are rank and file volunteers and not part of the leadership and making the decisions or steering that ship. And so I have no fault in them. My call is to lay your arms for the state, ballot initiative fight, because it's not going to be fruitful. It's actually going to be damaging. And let's all fight together. You already have the volunteers and the infrastructure. So instead of wasting time on an individual state, let's all just fight together at the national level. Could you imagine if all of these, liberal states that are coastal, Massachusetts and New York and Washington and California, and I mean, even Colorado and Vermont, if they all got in there, I know that there's, they're trying to organize in Minnesota now too, and also in Ohio. If they actually just flip script and started contacting Congress people every day, the people who could afford to go there and hound them every day, we just had sustained action against the 536 people in Congress, which is the House, the Senate, and Joe Biden, then we would actually be able to get something accomplished. But right now, everybody is like, oh no, we can't do that. You know what we should do is go after like tens of thousands of different little small offices across the country. Because, you know, state senators couldn't be bought off for cheaper, right? It makes no sense. Like, I don't know.
I heard it was only $10,000 to buy a U.S. senator. So, like, you know, what does it cost for a state senator? Probably not much.
Yeah, not much at all. Like a nice dinner and boom, there you go. You know, like it's so sad. But I mean, it's just the thing that made me stop supporting and organizing with Whole Washington was that I learned that my family and friends in Oregon would not have the same access to healthcare that I would in Washington if we passed Whole Washington. And that just didn't sit right with me because especially where I'm living in Vancouver, it's a border, well, there's technically a river in between us, but it's a border town with Portland. And so a lot of people live in Vancouver but work over in Portland, or some people live like in the outskirts of Portland, like not Portland proper because that's hella expensive because it's been gentrified. So they've been all pushed out. But some people will still live in like the Portland metro area and then come over to Vancouver because there are some headquartered companies here. And we have a lot of like collection agencies. Oh man, the sunshine is really pissing me off. We have a lot of like collection companies and things like that here in Vancouver. And so some people will come over here. So if you are a resident of Oregon, you do not qualify to receive care in Washington, even though you work over here. So if you had like a medical emergency while you're at work, then you would not be able to have your bill covered. And it's the same like for Eastern Washington. There's border with Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. That's the same thing, like Spokane, Tri-Cities, like people travel back and forth. And so they are residents of Idaho because, you know, maybe better taxes or whatever, but actually work over in Tri-Cities. And so they wouldn't qualify. It didn't sit right with me because I have always my whole entire life fought for all people. And so when I realized that so many people would be left out, I was like, what? Why would I do that? Like, why would I spend time on trying to fight for just some people? Like, I want everyone to have healthcare. Everyone.
There was something that you had said on Twitter about how seniors wouldn't be able to move from state to state. Is that like the same kind of thing? Is that the
Yeah. So okay. I'm going to use Whole Washington because it's actually written in their bill. Oh my God, the sun is like really pissing me off right now. In their bill, huh?
So you're going to be sunburned by the time.
I know, I probably will. I have really fair skin. Just kidding, I won't. So in Whole Washington's bill, they literally have, it was I-1471, they have it written that they want to become the privatizers of Medicare for the seniors here in Washington. So not only would they be weakening the national pool, taking seniors out of it, they'd also be removing seniors' freedom to be able to go travel across the country. I mean, I know there's a lot of seniors that can't afford to do that, but there's also a lot of people who are snowbirds, for example. Like it's too cold here in Washington during the winter and they'll stay down in Arizona or New Mexico or Texas or whatever, somewhere warmer during the winter months.
Yeah, they go to Florida and down south here. This is the same thing.
So right now, if they're on Medicare, it's a national program. So they can go and be seen, like say they are down in, you know, another state, for example, we'll just use New Mexico because Lady Alex is there. If they fall or get injured or have, you know, myocardial infarction or something happens to them, they can go see a doctor because it's not an in and out of network thing. It's do you take Medicare? Do you not? So if you take Medicare, then you can be seen. But what would happen is here in Washington, if Whole Washington passed their health trust, which they won't, they actually lost 30,000 signatures from the last campaign that they did, they would be taking away the freedom of seniors to be able to be seen in another state. And it could be like just as simple as driving over to Idaho and doing a road trip to I think it's called like Wild Waves or something like that. I can't remember what it's called. But so there's like a water park over there.
If they went out of state, then that healthcare would no longer work. Correct. For that.
Because they would no longer be part of the national pool. They would only be able to be seen in Washington state, the same way that Medicaid works. So like me, in Washington State, I can only see providers here in Washington State. And so there are some exceptions, like through Medicaid. I needed a procedure, and Planned Parenthood over in Portland was the only place that could do it. But I had to jump through like a bunch of hoops to even get that approved. And the likelihood of seniors taking time to do that is not very likely. And it wouldn't even be an option for a lot of seniors. You know, like the seniors up in King County, which is like the Seattle area, is not a border town with anyone. So they're like, oh, no big deal. This doesn't matter because it doesn't affect me personally. But they're going to be taking this freedom away from the seniors. And I don't know if you've talked to senior citizens, but they really love their Medicare. Like they want it to be better because obviously it's not good enough, but at least it's something for them right now.
Yeah.
And taking that freedom away from them just like blows my mind. Like how incredibly like self-centered. You just really want to fight for healthcare for some within arbitrary borders. And then you want to take away seniors out of the national pool, which is actually helping the neoliberal like strategy of tearing down Medicare. Like we all know that, you know, Republicans or whatever, they want to cut Social Security, they want to cut Medicare. So do the damn Democrats. They're paid by the same people. There's a reason why Joe Biden got into the position that he's in right now with a 40-year track record of being the architect who caused like pretty much all the problems that we're currently in. So like, it just blows my mind that people are not actually seeing the greater picture for what it is and just hyper focused on the micro and just like, I don't know, think that they're trying to accomplish something when it's really just a waste of time and energy. And it's not like I'm saying that because I'm trying to be hurtful to people. I'm saying it because that time and energy could be used to actually help accomplish this for everybody and not just for some people.
Yeah, I know. I know. And some people just need to like let their ego go.
Yeah.
And just say, oh, it's okay if you don't agree with me on something. I don't have to cancel you. I don't have to, you know, do whatever towards you or do something negative towards you because of something that you don't agree with. Because, you know, like that's it's just ridiculous. You do that, you limit your entire pool of people you can organize with, that you can help with, and all this. That's all you're doing. You're worsening, you know, like you're narrowing your pool of who you have on your side, and you're ostracizing people that agree with you on other things. I mean, like I have a mix of people, like especially like on my Twitter and stuff like that, and in my personal life. Like I have people that are from like, you know, super conservative to like, you know, even farther lefty, and then, you know, than I even am. So like, you know, like that's what makes it, you know, we have to be able to work with the people from every background and figure it out. And we're not going to agree with them 100%. Like it's just not going to happen. It's unrealistic.
Totally.
It's really unrealistic to expect that we're going to agree with everybody 100% on everything.
I mean, it's unconscionable to think that you're going to have like someone who matches everything that you do or say, just like a carbon copy of you. Like there's so many. I grew up conservative. Like I was raised to hate. Like I really truly was. My father is the most racist person I've ever met in my life, and he could just very well have been a grand wizard of the KKK. That's how hateful this man is. And so like I was raised to be hateful and to look down upon other people that didn't look like me or talk like me, or live like me, you know? And I didn't grow up like rich or anything like that, but I was taught to hate. And so like I work every single day to make sure that what I'm doing and what I'm saying is not coming from a place of hate. It's always coming from a place of love. And like, I just want to be like really clear that you are your own self. You have your own thoughts, views, opinions, you know, ideologies, the way you look at life, your perspectives, and I'm my own person too. So if you have an issue with, you know, something that I've done or said, please just come to me directly, and don't go behind my back to other people and try and character assassinate. So It's just
I've had the
like, be
same
a grown
thing
adult.
happen. I've had
Be
the
a grown
same
adult.
thing
Let's
happen.
have a conversation.
Yeah, I've had the same thing happen. People that have my like actual personal number, like just completely acting a fool. And it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's not necessary. It's really not necessary.
Totally. Like, I just don't understand how, like, if you and I we've had disagreements already. Like, we've worked them out, you know, like.
Oh yeah, you and I have like figured out where, you know what I mean? Like, we find out where it is, where that line is, and why do we feel that way, and why do you feel this way? And like, we talk like every day. Like, I was telling Steve before the stream, I'm like, Vegan's like, she's like one of my like just best friends now. We've just gotten really, really close, and we don't agree on things. I'll be like, oh, this might be a hard line that Vegan and I don't agree on. Like, I'll say that to Steve, like, when I'm talking to you, and like, you know, and he'll just laugh because he knows, like, we're both just like really passionate, fucking thick-headed women that really just care about other people. Like,
and it's okay. It's healthy for us to have a disagreement. And that's the thing too, is like, I don't want somebody who's just going to be a yes person and agree with me or take my side when I'm in the wrong, like, you know, and I want to be able to be that person for other people, you know, but I'm not going to do it on Front Street and air the laundry. Like,
oh my God,
I know you, so I'll just contact you and be like, hey, I disagree with this, and here's why. Where are you coming from? Why do you think like this? You know?
Yeah, like what is your experience?
I do that with a ton of people. Like, that's just who I am. So I just, yeah. So I mean, this is. I was called an instigator because I was speaking truth about how
oh, Leo!
He
was barking at you.
What's you doing, handsome boy? Oh,
you hear Vegan? Oh,
you're so good.
He's like, oh. You hear her? I know you love her. I know you do.
He's so cute. I always squeal like when I'm in the chat and Leo comes on screen. I'm like, Leo! And Matt's like, oh my God. Oh yeah. So I'm so tired of the whole, that's the thing too, is like, I'm just done with being on like social media because it's so different in real life. Like when you just have a conversation with people, like, and talk to them as a regular human being and have respect and, you know, have dignity in the conversation, like, it's so different than it is online. I'm so glad that I got suspended off Twitter. Like, that was such a necessary, like, mental break, and really made me realize, like, how often I was on there and, you know, like, how I participated in different conversations. Like, I mean, I don't regret anything because everything I said was true and I stand by the words that I tweeted. But I don't even know why I got suspended, to be honest with you. But
it just like one day you were just gone.
Yeah.
I don't think you even got any.
I appealed it twice and they told me no. So I was like, you know what? Fuck you. I don't care. I don't.
Ridiculous. So much for free speech.
I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just so different when you are in real life with people and not on the internet, you know, behind 6 months, Popeye. Not behind a screen and not, you know, behind a keyboard, and you think that you are just, you know, tough shit and like so gangster and, you know, like just going hard with the tweets, and it's just so, I'm done with it. Like, it was such a great mental break. I highly recommend it to people who are on Twitter to like, you just deactivate your account for a week. Take a break. Just take a break, step away from it, and you'll get some clarity, like a different perspective, because online is not real life. Like, real life is real life.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, because I'll sorry, go ahead, Steve.
I was gonna say that there's like literally government funded programs developing intuitive maps for everyone's keystroke that they've ever logged into a computer, and they figure out who belongs to what, and then they assign a computer to your map that they made, and they can predict what you're going to say and what you're going to react to, because now they have this track record of fucking 20 fucking years of internet use, right? So there is a program that actively does this, and I think we've seen it, like, you know, during the big C word. Like, I think that was helping their thing, you know, like it really it's become
I mean, because everybody was online. I mean, students were in Zoom classes, and you know, like everything was virtual. I mean, except for, you know, the essential workers that everybody forgot about after those first few months.
Exactly. So all of that activity, all of those keystrokes, a whole billion more people online all at once to log all that information and then sort it out. So each person gets assigned a computer, and then they can just feed you stories on your Twitter feed, on your Facebook feed,
which
on your
is so
Instagram.
crazy, because a lot of students now are like just hyper online. Like they get like iPads and shit like that when they start the school year. And we have like some like a bunch of charter schools in Clark County, like a ton of them. But some of them are like geared specifically towards tech, but all of them they get issued an iPad or whatever it is, you know, Kindle thing. I don't know all those things. I'm super techie, you can tell. So it's just crazy to think of that, because they're like, at this point from birth, they're online. Like everything is plugged in online.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
it's been like that for a minute. So
Skyla didn't have a phone like when she was like little and stuff. Like I don't even think she had. I think she was like 13 or something, 14. It was like old considering like her friends and stuff. You know, like she didn't have. She just didn't. You know, like I guess growing up poor, you just don't necessarily get all the technological advancements and stuff.
That's what it is.
Like I put something up on Twitter the other day where it like went through a whole list of different things, and it was like, have you ever, you know what I mean, a point for everything that you've never done. And I got a 0 because I, you know, grew up, I used typewriter before. I
got a 0 too. I was like, oh gosh.
You know? I've done the text. But it's like, you know what? We've evolved through all of that. That's how I saw it. A lot of people were like, oh, you're just gonna call me old and this and that. I'm like, I got a 0 because I've checked, I've done all those things. What do you mean I'm calling you old? I'm calling myself
right.
That thing that I was just
but they didn't read it right. They didn't comprehend it. Like they don't actually, it just shows that people's comprehension online isn't the same because they didn't actually read the instructions properly. It says a point for everything that you've never done. So like, you know, if you had a high number, if you got all 20, then that means that like you were probably really young, because Skyla's 19 and she still had 11 things. Like, so it was only 11 of them that she hadn't done. So it shows the different technology that you've been exposed to. It doesn't necessarily mean that like, you're old or you're not old, because there's people that were old that never taped off of the radio. You know what I mean? But I did.
How did you learn lyrics if you didn't tape off the radio? Like, come on.
Right. These kids,
seriously,
they don't know the struggle with the cassette and the pencil. And
you didn't get to just look it up, the lyrics for a song. You had to learn the lyrics and try and decipher some of them yourself.
That is literally.
And you had to have a pencil to rewind your tape.
There's a window of musicians, right, that like came from the 60s and like came of age in the end of the 60s, all right? And these are all the big classic rock people pretty much all the way from that era. But they all learned all the like Chuck Berry riffs and all the different things by slowing down the fucking record player and figuring out the notes. Totally. So like, you know what I mean? Like each generation comes up like a little bit more advanced each time. And now they can just, you can just mimic anything you want to hear. It doesn't, it's all just.
You don't have to even be a good singer.
Now. You don't have to be a good singer.
They have a voice craft. Correcting thing that they do now.
And that's the thing of like all those old songs from the 50s and stuff that have those classic guitar hooks and riffs. Those are the start of like everything that came afterwards. And if you don't understand how those work and are able to get those sounds out of your guitar, you're going to be like way behind everybody else because they got that fundamental thing, you know what I mean? And these guys like just, that was a standard thing. Like everybody knew that shit. You know what I mean? It was simple enough that you could teach somebody how to do it. You know what I mean? You could teach your brother how to do it in about 10 minutes, you know, and in a bunch of practice. And it's funny though, how that works, how the music, like certain traditions get carried on, certain other things just disappear.
Totally.
Pop radio right now, there's no guitar anything. There's not a guitar hook. There's like very, very little guitar going on anything that you call the radio today. It's like, it's not even close to like the same thing. It's just like this weird disposable thing.
But it just shows how technology has evolved. Like technology has evolved that much, and but yet we're still in the Stone Ages when it comes to like, you know, things like actually like people having health care.
Right.
Yeah, right. So ridiculous.
You know what I mean? Like, just to bring it back, it's like the comparison, it's like, oh, we've evolved this much, we've done all this, but really as a society, I think we've like we like kind of like evolved, and then we kind of like are going, I think we're on a downturn.
That thing I was talking about with the mapping thing, right? If that's the agenda of the people who fucking have the power, the technocratic people collecting all of this data and able to fucking literally predict the fucking future of events and markets and stuff, you know what I mean? So they can just run wild. And that's what it seems like since like maybe 2012, give or take, they've been doing this. They've put that shit into action, and like the C-19 fucking brought it all home. Like, you know what I mean? You can see how effective it is. The programming, people are still wearing fucking masks. It's just,
and I think people,
crazy.
I think
like,
that's part of why people are scared too, to bring healthcare in. You know what I mean? In general, I think people are resistant because they see what has happened in like, oh my gosh, if everybody had to do it in order to keep that healthcare, what could they have done? You know what I mean? Like, so I think those are valid fears that people have.
Totally. They're the same fears that I have as well. Like, you know, you should never be required or to meet a certain thing to get healthcare ever, period.
Yeah.
Like, that's like income or mandates or what have you. Like, if you need care, you should receive it. And so that's why I say like this needs to be a broader coalition and not just healthcare activists, because that's just an echo chamber. I go to these meetings and they're all just jerking each other off and seeing like, well, what should we do next? You know, like they have no plan, no strategy, and they're not talking to organizations outside of other healthcare organizations. So like it needs to be a broader movement of people that are fighting for multiple things, but focused on one thing that they're advocating for, you know? So like I'm advocating for healthcare, but I also fight for housing and I fight for, you know, food. Like we did the SNAP thing in the end of February, wasn't it? Yeah, the end of February, we did the SNAP campaign. I came on and we did the stream. We set up the Google Doc. Everybody contributed. We did votes, all that kind of shit. Like
people said that they worked on it that didn't.
Weird.
That didn't.
Really weird how people do that. They weren't part of it at all, but you know, they tweeted once or something. So like they took credit.
All my tweets are gone because I got suspended. So my stuff that I did doesn't even exist anymore. Thanks, Elon. So yeah, it's just like we need those voices. Like, and like I said, I am one of those voices. I don't want there to be any barrier for me to be able to go see the doctor. Like I had a health issue arise last summer. I ended up losing my job because I was missing more work than I was, you know, actually being present because I was in and out of urgent care or the emergency room. I ended up going in for surgery in December. I was recovering. I actually had a setback in April, and I just kind of wanted to ignore it and pretend like it wasn't happening because I didn't want to deal with this anymore. And then I saw the surgeon in May, so I'll have to be going in for surgery again, unfortunately. I'm trying to hold off as long as possible because I just don't want to do it. Like, I just don't, you know, having someone be there to care for you, not having the income to pay for bills, like, it's just so incredibly stressful. And what's really funny is the hospital that I had treatment at, they had an old insurance policy from like when I first moved to Vancouver. I had to go to the emergency room, and I used this. It was Premier Blue Cross Blue Shield, and they still had it on file at the hospital. I hadn't been there in like, I've been in Vancouver for like 17 years. So it's been like 15 years since I had gone to this hospital. And so they billed that insurance, even though I was on Medicaid. That's the insurance that I gave them. They billed this other insurance first. So I got letters from Primera, Blue Cross Blue Shield. And they're like, yeah, we don't have a policy under your name. So this is going to cost you $22,000. This procedure is going to cost you $13,000. And I was like, holy shit. Like if I didn't have Medicaid, I would not have been able to even have the surgery in the first place. And now I have to go for a second one. So it's like, I have to decide, like, do I really, I have to find like a part-time job that doesn't put me over the financial threshold so I can maintain my Medicaid so I can go have the surgery, but then I'll be missing work. So probably get fired from that next job, you know, because I'll have to recover for it. So it's just like, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. In this country, nobody is helping regular people. So, and my story is not unique at all. Like my story is nothing compared to some of these, you know, just heartbreaking people losing their homes, like committing suicide because they don't want to have their family go into debt to care for them because they have been diagnosed with something that's, you know, like long term, the rest of their life. So it's just,
yeah, there's couples that are getting divorced so that they aren't going to be required to
claiming
pay back
their income. Yeah, so
and medical debt too, and the medical debt, and have like going into hundreds of thousands of dollars into medical debt because one of their family members has debt. So there's married couples that will die not married and not have like everything that protects because of that. They're getting divorced. Not to not be together anymore, but because they have to, because it's legally binding.
How can we have like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and like our actual freedom, our personal liberties, our bodily autonomy, without having like the ability to go see a doctor when we need to, and like it's so gross. It's disgusting.
And Chris says, I find it strange Americans fear healthcare because of mandates. They will still, when they still force the mandate on the U.S. without healthcare.
Totally. I mean, it already happened and we don't have fucking healthcare here.
Yeah, it doesn't make it rational, but I think that is something that people are worried about, is that they will somehow be able to hang that over your head. But yeah, there's a lot of people that don't have it. So yeah, why are we afraid of something that, yeah, like, and it's up to the people to say no, to just say no, that we're not going to tolerate this. And it really, and I thought there would have been a bigger push for healthcare during the last 3 years.
Yeah,
I looked at see at the beginning of it. I was like, there's no way that people will settle for them to not do this for us. Yeah, there's no way. We're finally, this is going to be, if we're going to get it, this is when we're going to get it.
Yeah, I thought the same exact thing. I was part of Force the Vote. Like, I was part of the leadership team. Like, it was insane how many people wanted to participate and help with this and get the word out and, like, push and advocate for this. Like, we were doing, like, phone banking calls to politicians to either talk to a staffer or leave a voicemail to tell them to do this. It was, like, 15 progressives that we were contacting, but I was contacting even more people because it's, like, not just them. You guys can all do this. Like, we're in the midst of a fucking global pandemic and people do not have health care. We can enact 1881A of the Social Security Act right now because this has been declared a national emergency. And we did nothing. Nothing happened. Nancy Pelosi got speakership. Nothing in exchange for it. Like, they blah about PAYGO and committee positions that they then got ousted from.
Was insane.
It's just, yeah. And so I was like, wow, I can't believe this. And then shortly after that, I joined March Medicare for All because I thought, okay, maybe if we get people in the streets, because it was the dead of winter when this was happening.
I mean, how many people were like, I went up against Joe Firestone about Force the Vote, and there's a whole stream on my on the channel that I went up against him because it was absolutely insane. And he was like trying to say, well, oh, well, yeah, but Jimmy Dore. And I was like, dude, this isn't even a Jimmy Dore thing. He just is like a loud voice, like pushing for this. It wasn't even a Jimmy Dore thing. It's part of the DSA handbook. It is a basic thing that should have happened.
Totally.
Like, and I completely like put him in his fucking place. Like your neoliberal freaking shit is not working, you know, like, and he also pushes the same state by state narrative.
Oh yeah.
And of course he didn't want forced to vote. Of course not.
Well, and so also you really have to you have to see what people aren't saying at the same time. So like those people who were hyper focused on a personality versus actually getting people's first policy, those are not good people. Like if this force to vote was way bigger than Jimmy Dore. Like the only thing that Jimmy Dore really did was get more eyes on it. And that created like the controversy and all of the chaos and the back and forth with
and
all
everything became about him instead of the actual issue. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous.
I didn't participate in Force the Vote because of Jimmy Dore. His plea to like do this because it was an actual action that could happen, that's what made me participate in Force the Vote. I was like, yes, like fucking finally. Like I didn't know this was part of DSA's handbook in the first place, but like they didn't even participate in it. They were too concerned about Jimmy Dore than actually fighting for people. So it's like, you know, you can't look to legacy.
It was ridiculous. It was like,
rely
really?
on, you know, these huge unions like the National Nurses United and AFL-CIO, the fucking teachers union, like all of these people, they are bought and paid for. They are friends with these politicians. They have, you know, vacations, family meals and fucking parties and weddings and all that kind of shit. They're hobnobbing with these people. They're not there to fight or advocate for us. And that's the thing is like, I don't trust any of the national leaderships in those like groups, the unions, the legacy orgs and healthcare and all of that. I do have experience working with rank and file members that are fucking pissed that these leadership, the people in leadership are making decisions without their input. You know, like I've worked with people who are rank and file DSA members that are phenomenal. I've worked with people who are rank and file, you know, volunteers with CalCare and Whole Washington. They're phenomenal people. They're just really in the fight for the people. And, you know, it's just everything just gets bastardized. You know, the same thing happened with March for Medicare for All in 2021. Jimmy Dore spoke out in Los Angeles because that's where he is. And there was 55 other actions happening the same day, but we had speakers dropping out because Jimmy Dore was going to be speaking across the country and had nothing to do with the event that they were invited to, that they were going to be speaking at. You know, it's like get over it. Like Jimmy Dore is going to have health care too. Like,
yeah, people you don't like are gonna have health.
Yes.
You're fighting for people that you don't like, okay? And if you can't fight for people's speech that you don't want them to speak, and you're not fighting for healthcare for people that you don't like, then you're not really fighting for it.
Right. Exactly.
If you're not fighting for people you don't like to speak, to be able to speak, then you're not really fighting for freedom of speech.
Yeah, and I'm a free speech absolutist, so like I don't tell people what to say or how to think or what to do or that they shouldn't do this or whatever. Like if I don't agree with somebody, I'll reach out to them and find out what's going on. And then if I don't really like the explanation, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to move on. Like I'm not going to waste my time on you. There's so many other people that I could talk to that I could help, you know, educate or change their mind about this or realize like this is compassionate. This is patriotic. This is what we should be doing. So I'm just not going to spend my time on people who aren't, you know, interested in learning and growing. And yep, I'm really sorry about your food stamps. My food stamps got cut too. And it's, I mean, I'm not to the extent of donating plasma yet, but I totally hear you. And I feel you because it's absolutely asinine. And you know who did that was Joe Biden and the Democrats. They actually voted for that in 2022 before the end of Congress, and the new Congress started in 2023. So we can thank the Democrats for that. So anybody who tells you that, oh, you can't vote for this third party person because then that's a vote for Trump or whatever the fuck it is, or DeSantis or whoever.
I compare it in ice cream flavors. This is the easiest way to think about it. Say you have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. And you're like, I mean, strawberry's not like everyone's favorite, but that's what I want, right? So I'm going to vote for strawberry. And somebody says, no, you can't vote for strawberry because then we'll get chocolate, or, we'll get vanilla. And you're like, but I'm voting for what I want. You want to vote for the flavor that you like, right? It's the same thing with the candidate. That doesn't mean that you're going to get chocolate or you're going to automatically make vanilla win. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? And besides that, our entire system is really, we need to overhaul in our entire system. So until we have one, I have nonpartisan because I don't care. I don't care who's there. I don't care. They're all evil. They're all doing awful. And until we actually can fix the electoral system all over, and all sides come together to do it. Because I don't want just the Democrats and the left doing it and then the right's all no. You know what I mean? No, I want everybody to come together, all sides, all representation, and figure it out. Fight it out. Let's go.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. It needs to be more of it
needs to be universal.
Well, we have Congress right now, but they always have the gerrymandered districts and all that kind of stupid bullshit. They redistrict and all that just so they can control. So we don't actually have representation. None of us do. Nope. Not a single one of us do it in this country. I don't trust any politicians. I'm post-partisan. I don't vote for people anymore because I don't trust them. No matter what they do or what they say, I just don't trust them. And that's because of experiences that I've had with politicians is why I don't trust politicians. So, and the thing is, you said, they're out there doing bad things. Either they're out there, these candidates are out there doing bad things themselves, or they're excusing bad things. And that is just as bad in my opinion. Cornel West, as much as I had respect for him, just completely excusing Nick Brana of the People's Party from any sort of accountability and responsibility, and then pushing back on the people who have actually been, just trashed by Nick and Rod Brana and the leadership of the People's Party. It's just I just can't. And the same, there's corruption in the Green Party. There's DSA as a wing of the Democratic Party. Who? We can't trust any of these people. At some point, they're going to get bought and paid for anyway. So,
yeah, exactly.
I'm really sorry, but it's fucking hot as balls back here, and I don't know if I can last much longer.
Yeah, and that leads me to tomorrow night. We are having members of the People's Party and the Green Party. We are having a women's panel. You're gonna want to tune in for this.
Totally.
There's gonna you're gonna get some behind the scenes look at what's really happening with the Cornel West run, with the People's Party, what happened in the People's Party, what's happening in the Green Party right now. Because there is some crazy shit happening. And I'm gonna kind of just sit back and relax and see what the ladies have to tell me, because I wasn't personally involved with these parties and I don't have any, and they chose me as their platform to come on to, and they were invited on other channels, but they know I'm not going to steer them to be any certain direction. I don't have any motives to you know what I mean? I don't have anything, there's nothing behind it, but besides I will offer a platform. So I'm really excited. I'm going to I'm probably going to learn a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of questions. So please make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night. And, if you have questions for these ladies, I think Paula Jean Swearengin might be stopping in. We have Renee Johnstone, Camilla Harris, oh my gosh, Joe, oh my God, what is Joe's last name?
Joe Charest?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I love Joe.
So yeah, like a bunch of, you know what I mean, like, and they are all gonna, like, you know, be spilling some tea about what's happening really behind the scenes and what has happened and their experiences. And I just feel honored to be able to host these ladies and let them, you know, just educate us about what their experience has been.
It sounds wildly informative.
Totally. And I'm like so stoked, not only for these ladies to come on and spill the tea, but like I have so much respect for what they've gone through and that they continue to experience. Like every day is just what they've gone through relived over and over, because then they have to explain, I'm not a bad faith actor.
Oh, and Zainab is my co-host. I'm sorry. I can't believe I forgot to say Zainab's name. She's my co-host tomorrow night.
Oh, good. I'm supposed to have a meeting tomorrow night, but I'm kind of hoping that they flake on me and so I can just come to the stream and not miss anything. But whatever I miss, I'll rewind and watch back, because I don't want to miss that conversation. Those ladies are absolutely phenomenal. And I have a ton of respect for what they've gone through and how they just continue to hold their heads high in the face of all of this hate and harassment and backlash, like just character assassination and dragging their names through the mud, their reputations destroyed. Like, they're just persevering, and that's true strength. Like, honestly, it really is. And I'm not surprised in the slightest that they asked you to host, because you don't have a narrative. You're not trying to support the Green Party over the People's Party, or the People's Party over the Green Party, or some kind of like algorithm cash flow to get the clicks all that. Like, you're just going to be an opportunity for them to be real and share their stories. And, you know, I'm sure you'll have questions, and I'm sure the chat will too. So I'm really looking forward to that conversation tomorrow night.
And you don't have to pay to ask a question. We appreciate anybody that does donate or becomes a member or shops on the store. It really, really does help. And it's, you know what I mean? But like, I don't want anybody to be limited to interacting with us because they don't have the money. Mm-hmm. I know how tight money can be. Like, we're poor, we get it, and I don't want anybody to feel like that we're not available to them, or that we won't, you know what I mean? Like, we're not going to interact with you unless you do that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, we appreciate every time that we do get support, and we understand that, you know what I mean? Sometimes support means, like, you know, just making sure you like the stream and showing up and sharing it, and those things are free. So we appreciate you, however you support. And now, how can people keep in touch with you besides being in our community here? How else can people, like, you know, if they need to get a hold of you through like the website? Is this a good way for them to?
Yeah, I mean, you can send an email to mfromforall at mfromforall, Elizabeth at mfromforall. Like, I manage 4 email accounts, 4 or 5, I can't remember. And so you'll be able to get a hold of me that way. I may or may not be back on Twitter. I will not admit or deny anything. But I'm not going to share that information presently. So if you really do need to get a hold of me, Lucky can get you connected to me.
We'll facilitate that.
We have permission to facilitate that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, March Medicare for All, that's pretty much what I eat, drink, sleep, dream. You know, everything that I'm doing is fighting for healthcare. And this month now is going to be like super crunch time for the picnic here in Vancouver. What's awesome is I reached out to some local businesses, so they'll be donating some food items or drink items. And then we do have 3 speakers in Vancouver. Martha Schmidt, who's actually one of the lead attorneys for the UN filing. She is on the National Lawyers Guild and the International Committee and has been a human rights lawyer for a long time. And she also has union experience. And then Eric Kessner, who is Real Progressives and Yellow Vest Actions. He'll be talking about direct action and why we need to do it at the national level. And then also Camille Khan. He is the executive director for Oregon Physicians for Social Responsibility. And he is just like one of the coolest people I have met in a really long time. He has such an incredible aura around him. He's so like gentle and kind and compassionate. And I actually met him in April at the screening of Ithaca, the Assange film. I had an opportunity to meet John and Gabriel Shipton, and Camille was actually moderating the Q&A after the screening of that documentary. So I just went up and talked to him about healthcare, and we talked about, you know, abolishing ICE, and we talked about, you know, free speech and, you know, a lot of things. So he's just really dope. And so far, those are the speakers that I've secured. I'm hoping in the next 2 weeks I have some other meetings. So hopefully there will be a couple more that we can add to Vancouver. But, you know, I plan on just giving the mic or the bullhorn, whatever we end up using in Vancouver, to the people who show up. Share your story. How would healthcare change your life? You know, what has happened to you or transpired in the past, and how would it be different if you would have had healthcare? So, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it. A little stressed too, you know, with organizing things. That's just what happens. But yeah, thank you for having me on and letting me come on and just kind of blah blah and be nervous and awkward and sweaty and
Thank you for your unconditional glistening. We appreciate it.
Yes, you're more than welcome. Just let me know, like, you know, any season I can guarantee some glistening. So just let me know, Steve, if you're low on the glisten, I got you.
Oh my gosh, I know. When he would be out playing at night and stuff, and like I would be dancing for hours, I would be like, I don't sweat. I'm glistening or whatever.
My hair like starts like curling when I get really hot, and I don't really have curly hair. It just does it when it's sweaty. So I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I get the little curly cubes too.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. It's funny. It's funny. It happens.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with no sweaty girls, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh my gosh, I love you guys. Thank you so much for like your never-ending support and your kindness and understanding. And I'm just so grateful that I'm able to like actually reach out to you and have a human to human conversation, even when we disagree on things, and that we're able to, you know, move on. And
it's really that easy. It really is. It's really not that hard. And I
think if everybody just accepts the fact that they're all fucking crazy and I'm the only sane one, everything is fine.
Yeah.
We can all get
Hear,
along.
hear.
Yeah, no. I would argue with him every day if that was the truth. Like if he really thought that, then I would argue with him every day and tell him no until, you know.
You just need more medication.
Oh my
I do not need any.
All right.
Well,
thank you so much.
So
Thank you, chat. I love all the Burritonians. Sorry, it's hard to say that word sometimes.
Burritonians. And Rick Overton's who named us that. So, like, it's super special.
Rick. It's official.
I met him in Los Angeles in July on the 24th, 2021, and he gives the greatest hugs. I love Rick Overton. Yeah, he's like, it's a real hug. It's not like oh, hi. He's like, here, come here. You're part of my family.
Yeah, like you're getting a bear hug.
Yeah,
that's how I hug. That's how I am. I'm like, I give real hugs. I'm going to really hug you. I'm going to give you that 10-second hug if it's appropriate to, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to really hug you and really make you just understand that, like, you know, how much I care at that moment. Yeah.
I'm the same way. It's like I'm giving you a hug from my actual heart. When I hug you, it's not just me putting my arms around you. So like Rick, his hugs, top notch.
So you guys get a hug. Get a hug from somebody.
Hug each other.
Go get a hug. You know, don't just hug a stranger with like asking permission.
Yeah, you need consent. Like, don't just
hug strangers. But everybody, please, your homework is to go get a nice hug.
Gray Walker has it figured out. Everyone is crazy except me and you, and I'm not so sure about you.
Oh my gosh.
Gray Walker. You're always cracking me up.
All right. Well, peace out, everybody. We love you.
Thank you. Have a beautiful evening and happy solstice. It's summertime now, baby.
Living's easy.
All right. Good night,
night.
everybody. All right. That was great. That was fantastic. We will see you guys next time. Please hit that like button. Check out the luckyburritoart.com store. And we'll see you guys soon. Tomorrow night, we'll be back.
Mere hours.